Hello, Master Daters. Welcome back for another episode of It's Complicated.
The struggle is real when you're dating in the city.
I'm Jen.
And I'm not Jen. I'm not still. I was trying so hard to think of something else to say, but I just can't because I'm just not that.
Right. You're not me. You're not Jen, so that's
And I'm
you.
also not Mochi, who is sitting on your lap for those of you who are watching.
Exactly. So
She's going to help us with today's episode.
yeah, she knows that there's been a lot of,
There's been a lot of stuff going on, and our episode, I mean, actually, she's an emotional support dog, and we're going to need her for some emotional support today because we are discussing what's going on in our lives, and both of us are a little bit stressed.
oh yeah.
Which I'm sure you all understand. And we are going to be talking about some of the biggest mistakes we've made in dating, and we're doing it in the form of a quickie. We are interviewing each other tonight, and we're going to get you in and out and on with your lives like a two-pump chump. Sometimes that's all you want is just a quickie. Like, don't make it take so long. We don't need to do all the stuff. Just like stop, do your thing and go.
Yeah.
I mean, is that wrong that I think that sometimes? When we're not podcasting, when maybe doing something else?
Maybe. I mean, it's been so long that I don't even know what I wanted.
Well, you know what? Listen, we're going to talk about maybe why you're at that point or whatever. And maybe there were some mistakes that have brought you down that path. And we're going to like clear ourselves some mistakes tonight.
Basically, we're repenting for our sins.
Yes, that's what we're doing.
We
Is
are.
that
It's
what
like
the Jews
Passover.
do? And Passover.
Oh, no, that's Yom Kippur. Sorry,
Whatever.
guys.
It's all that.
I'm so stressed that I can't remember my own holidays, and that's why we need this drink.
Yes.
So I'm going to lift up my cup again with my hand that has 2 broken nails because I don't have time to even get them fixed.
Part of the stress.
And also, I think my nails are just like, we've had it with you. We've been long forever. We got to go.
Oh, are you thinking about switching?
No, actually,
okay.
I'm not. I got to make this work. So anyway, guys, it's our classic cocktail because why break something that isn't, why fix something that isn't broken?
No. Are you serious?
I don't know, maybe.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right, that. Why do I have to say it when you just say it after
you
me?
have to know that.
But mine was, it's like Mad Libs. Like I say like sort of what it is and you fill in the blank.
Fine.
Okay.
Yes, because this is a classic drink. And you know what's so good about it too, just to interrupt for a second, but the lemon liqueur, it's like just like this thing. It's quick and easy, just like our episode. It's a 2-pump chump drink. It's vodka and lemon liqueur. You don't even need to add the lemon. It's just bam, bam, done.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
I know that
Yeah,
saying.
see?
That's one of them.
There you go.
Anyway, so we love some fizzy beverages. Cheers.
Yeah, we do, because
And I'm just coming down with illness, but it's fine. I'll drink my way through it.
No, you know, I did read an article today that said alcohol, the truth about alcohol, like helping with a sore throat or like the start of a cold, like, oh, it kills the germs, whatever. Well, yes, sort of true. A lot of people say drink a hot toddy and then that'll make it better because it's hot. But some doctors say if it's too much alcohol, it can actually decrease your immune system.
Yeah,
but
it dehydrates you.
This is just a little.
I think I might even just be dehydrated. I don't know what I am.
Been tired from all the traveling because we'll get to that in your complicated mess. Mine is stress. That's what I am having a complication.
theme.
Yeah, it's like just the way my body is wired. Anytime change happens, it could be good, it could be bad. I get overwhelmed with stress. I had to put my cat to sleep recently, and then I got engaged, which we've talked about, which, I mean, the cat putting to sleep was obviously sad and devastating, but the best thing. And engagement is wonderful and beautiful, and I'm so happy to be marrying James, but it's just a lot of change and a lot of things that now I have to do or think about, and it's sort of compiled. So I worked with Melissa Anderson, who's actually on our show, of Box the Outside. She is a business, career, and leadership coach, and she was a former guest on our show and Jen's cousin, and she's effing amazing. And I'm like, I know you're not a therapist, Melissa, but I need help, like, wrangling in my anxiety about things I'm anticipating. Like, a lot of people have this kind of anxiety about dating. Like, I'm going to be nervous or I'm going to do something wrong, and they get anxious before, and then they can't be themselves and show their true colors. Or like in my case, I feel like at my wedding, I might be too nervous, or I might have like performance anxiety or something. And so then you just don't feel your best in a moment where you should be you. And so Melissa really helped me with it. She really helped me like deal with the anxiety and how to manage it and how to like change my perspective on how to view it as being like to come at it from an angle of happiness, which sounds like, why wouldn't you? But if you get caught up in anxiety, like even in a dating situation, it just sometimes takes over. So It helped. Thank you, Melissa. And go to Boxed the Outside on Instagram, follow her, and do all the stuff because trust me, she can fucking help you with anything. Like legit. I like already feel 50% better from one 45-minute session.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Good.
And Jen bought the sessions for me for wedding planning as a gift, and I ended up talking about anxiety, which is fine because we'll get to the wedding planning. So thank you. It was
Anytime.
a great gift.
Anytime. I may not have all the tools myself, so I can provide you with our providers.
Yeah, and it's a good Valentine's Day gift if you want to give it to somebody.
Totally. And Melissa's part of our board of directors.
That's right.
That's it.
True.
Sometimes we need that help. So anyway, I, like you mentioned, was traveling. Recently, I went to Sundance for exactly 24 hours to go for an event and come back.
A quickie.
A quickie. It was a lot of traveling for 24 hours and different weather. And I think it knocked me off my ass.
Yeah.
And here we are today, and I have not had a minute to breathe, and my nails keep breaking, and I don't have time to go get them fixed. And it's all these things, and I have to cook, and a friend's birthday, and a friend's in town, and we had an event, and then there's we have stuff for you this weekend for wedding dresses.
Yeah.
And I have to see
And
Melissa
Super Bowl
and family.
Sunday.
Super Bowl Sunday. I mean, guys, honestly, if I even wanted to date right now, I don't think I could, at least not until after the Super Bowl, because this week is freaking bonkers.
Sometimes you just have those weeks where you have to just try to get everything done one by one and hope you can do it, and you probably would be able to, but it's going to be stressful and you'll be tired and then you'll have to go back to work.
Right.
So
basically, I feel like my life right now is Tetris and I just have to fit everything in and be strategic or not sleep. I don't know, but whatever. So that's what's happening. I did go on a date that was a setup. In the last week, and I don't know. I don't know about that. But I do appreciate being set up. I do think it says there's a couple things that I have to say about being set up. It's really lovely when your friends think of you.
Of course.
Because for them to consider, putting you and the other person they know in that position takes a lot of trust.
Sure.
And it means they hold you in hopefully a high regard.
Yeah.
Because they want to set two people that they find value, they find value in those two people up together. So I appreciate my friends. I don't know that it was a match.
Yeah.
But I appreciate them. So I think I love the idea of a setup. I also think it's a little uncomfortable because you do have to report back.
Yeah.
But I try to handle myself with as much grace as humanly possible. So I would hope that whatever gets back to them from the other end is that I just, was my best self.
Yeah, and it's hard to set people up. We even talked about it on our show about how to do that with James and Noel. Mm-hmm. And it is hard. There's pressure that you can't deny from coming from every angle. But the thing about it is that I think sometimes people go into setting people up oh, I really love Mark and I really love Marie, let's set them up together because I love them both so much. But that's as far as that thought goes.
Right. It's they might not be great together.
But they love each other. You love this person and this person in their own separate worlds. Yeah. So sometimes keep that in mind. And then also our advice always for setting up is do it really as neutral as you can. Hey, somebody, come to this thing I'm having and just keep an open eye because there might be somebody you like to a group of people and see if they gravitate to each other naturally, and then it's not on you. That's the best way to do it if you can do it that way.
Right, if your schedules permit and stuff.
And there's a event happening where all the people are there.
Like Super Bowl.
Okay, great. Super Bowl, perfect time for a setup.
Right, and if I'm with you,
oh yeah,
figure it out.
Yeah, yes.
Oh, I know someone.
For yourself?
Yeah.
Oh,
in your community.
She does. True. I, worked the magic, and I think that the magic happened in front of me for the night that said environment was set up just the way I said it.
New Year's, guys.
Yes, New Year's Eve. It was set up that way, and there were some things.
There were some complications. I had a separate date.
No,
from the person,
but there was also some magic happening with you and this person.
Yeah, there was.
Both of them had the same name too, so that was fucking confusing. Jeez. Anyway, it worked. It worked in the moment.
Yeah.
How it was supposed to work.
Yeah. If we were talking mistakes, though, since this is the theme of our show.
So let's start that. What's your mistake there? I would say
that my mistake was inviting someone else to that party that night. But I also didn't know that the person in your end of things was going to be there. So
that's true.
I could have also just been patient and not forced having a New Year's date.
Okay,
so that's the
okay. So
thing.
there it is. Take the pressure off yourself to feel like you need to show up to an event in time like Valentine's Day or New Year's, or the New Year's Eve is always one of those holidays where you're like, you always make a bigger fucking deal out of it than you should, and then you're like underwhelmed every year, right? Yeah. So like keep that in mind, right? Take the pressure off, like go into New Year's Eve with just like a whatever attitude or any said event, and take the pressure off yourself to have to show up with a person, because if you know there's going to be a group of people there, think like that too, like, and maybe put the feelers out. Whoever's throwing the party, say to them, is there anybody going that you think I might like? Don't tell me. Maybe do it for yourself. Don't tell me. Just if there is, let me know. And the person be like, you know what, actually, I think there might be somebody here that you might like. And then your feelers are up, but there's no pressure to meet this person.
Exactly. So that's the lesson there. I don't know. I guess also I think I've been so appreciative of setups lately.
Yeah.
Because I've been asking for that and putting that out there, that I think a good lesson would be for me to be very specific. But I will say this too. I have a fear of being that specific because I don't want to come off shallow.
Okay, but what are your specifics? Just say them right now on air.
Or also, how are these people supposed to know if, like, here's the thing, and I wrote you this today, like, do they have my best intentions in mind? And if so, like, maybe I don't know what's good for me. In this case, I do know what's good for me, but let's just say I'm a person that doesn't. Maybe they're like, you know what, you might not pick this person out of a room, but he's so great, we really do think you should meet this person.
Yes.
And normally I wouldn't. I would swipe left.
Right. Okay. But that's the chance you take with the setup always, is that, like, is there going to be a chemistry or not? Because obviously maybe there's some things on paper that they think might be good for you, or they might know that you want. And then the rest is left up to like fate and chemistry. And so there's always that risk, but it's less of a risk when you do it the way we're giving the example of, and I'm sure there's other ways to do it like that, but there's less of a risk if you're like, come to this thing where there's a group of people and you chemically attract this other person, then it's like, well, you already know.
Well, also a mistake someone might make, let's say it was me, a girl, we found like also like other mistakes people make, like the biggest mistakes people make. One of them actually is like thinking that you don't have to make a move as the female, like that you don't have to do anything. It's all in the man to initiate. And like, I remember actually at your New Year's party, whatever party that was at this point, your New Year's party, that this person, like, I went up to the person to say hi because I'd met him at your birthday, and I was like, hey, how are you? And then because I think I went up to him and was like warm and like remembered him and everything, he then enlisted me to like help make shots and was like,
doing that all night. Yeah, you were like the fun, warm, friendly girl. You weren't. There was no like air of desperation. You gotta. Well, there's some things about that, but yes, I don't think that Bumble tried to attack that weird cliche of like, it's okay to make the first move and it takes some of the pressure off and it puts you in a little more control, and there are some good things about it. You don't have to plan your whole life. Going up to somebody and saying hi is not that big of a deal. Doesn't mean that you're desperate or that now you're the wearing the pants and you do all the things. It's just a hello or hey, remember me, or a cute emoji on an app.
Like, you're signaling to somebody, I am interested, and now you can take it from here. Like this, it's like a nice, like peaceful space. Like you can make the move, because really, guys do have a fear of rejection, and I probably would too if I had to make the move all the time just by like standard procedure.
Exactly. If you knew there was pressure on you to do this thing just because, then that would suck. But if we came into a world where like it could be both people, then it takes the pressure off of both people, and then you just do whatever you feel naturally, not like what you're supposed to do or what somebody told you to do, and then you're like all not organic and you're all uncool.
Don't be all uncool.
It's just too many things to think about when there's already lots of other things to then have to think about.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I totally know.
Yeah. I think a big mistake that people make is like thinking that somebody is exclusive when they haven't actually said so. Like maybe you're really feeling it and you're like, you've spent a lot of time with them and they couldn't possibly have time to be dating somebody else. And maybe they aren't even, but they don't consider themselves as exclusive with you. It's not a thing until you have the conversation, and don't be afraid to have the conversation because it doesn't make you look desperate, but you can't assume that. And I've made that mistake before. Like, I was less realistic in the past about how I really liked somebody and I was really in it, and this person, you know, was not necessarily dating other people, but just couldn't consider themselves exclusive. And so it can eventually, I think, if it goes on long enough and then you end up being together, it can create an insecurity, because then you're always sort of that feeling of like, is this person really in it or not? Even when they are, maybe can linger. So you definitely want to make sure that you don't make assumptions in that category without having like a serious conversation. What are we? I know it sounds like, oh, don't do that, but why not?
Well, I think that's like one of the other biggest mistakes people can make, and we've all made it, is trying to act like cool girl, like, oh, you know, I'm easy breezy, like, oh, but then like, you literally go home and like spin out of control, or text all your friends and say, what does this mean if he hasn't texted me, or he liked this girl's picture on Instagram, or whatever it is. Instead of sending yourself down a freaking rabbit hole of hell, you might as well ask if that's what you want. Like, or you can just check the temperature. You don't have to demand anything. You don't have to, like, the goal is not to force somebody into anything they don't want. If they don't want to be exclusive with you, you don't want to be exclusive with them. Trust me.
Yeah, exactly. And you want to find that out, obviously.
Right.
I mean, that's the goal. If you're both trying to go to a certain spot, you want to make sure that that's the same spot. So, yes, it's scary to approach that conversation, but it's a necessary conversation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If that is what you want, it's necessary.
Of course.
And also, I think a mistake sometimes people can make, and I've made it, is becoming exclusive and ending up in a relationship just because it's sort of like, well, this is the seat filler. This is the relationship because we're exclusive and this person wants to be with me. I honestly think, like, if we all refer back to episode, whatever number it was, where I went through a breakup during like the end of August or whatever it was, I think I was so excited about somebody who wanted to be exclusive with me and was super quick about figuring it out, and like that excited that I was like, okay, well, let's be exclusive. But then throughout the relationship, I remember I would say to you all the time, like, should I be seeing other people? Like, I feel like there's some kinks in this thing.
Or
and
this
I don't
thing
know.
bothers me about him. Like, I don't feel completely fulfilled, or this or that.
So I do think that I jumped the gun there on getting into a relationship where I should have gotten to know him a little bit more, and not like had the exclusivity, like cure my insecurities of whatever else he might be doing, but really just take my time, and on my end of things just been like, all right, patience.
It's hard to compartmentalize because obviously part of the game is feeling like the other person wants to be, like we just said, in the same spot that you're at. So as soon as they start admitting the things that you want, you're like, oh yeah, we have this thing in common, but like that isn't the only thing. So there's other things that, yes, if you both want to be in a relationship, but ultimately sometimes that's actually not what someone really wants. But I think that it can be for me, when I think about this specific mistake, I think to myself, girls, women, I can only speak for women because I am one, and I think that we're going to all agree maybe.
That you are?
That I'm a woman and that this thing is true. That when you get to a certain age and you've been dating somebody like long enough, you're like, I'm going to marry this person. Because you're like, what else am I going to do? I'm this age and we've been dating this long. So now that means that now, you know, and society puts that pressure on you. When's he going to ask? Or when are you going to ask? Or whatever, because you're 30 plus and now you've been with this person long enough. It's like that you put that pressure on yourself too, to like be with this one because you're 30 plus years old and you've been dating long enough.
And you've basically just been waiting for this to happen.
But why? But that doesn't mean that I mean, it doesn't mean shit.
No, it doesn't. And actually, I heard an interesting story today about someone who got married and then divorced a month later. And like, how did that even happen? Well, it turned out she found out he had like a whole other life with a whole other person and was like on dating apps and all these things. And I'm like, even at that point, like, but I would assume if we had interviewed that person, there would probably have been signs throughout the way.
And they probably moved quickly or whatever. But yeah, of course, it's like not a common mistake to overlook because that's like a narcissistic psychopath. But yeah, I mean there are smaller things that can happen that can lead to a divorce that are because you're doing the same thing. You're making excuses, or you're like, I'm this age and I want to do this, or we both want to get married, so let's just do it.
Speaking of making excuses, that's another mistake. I've made plenty of excuses for people where I'm just like, oh, they got out of a relationship, so they're not ready yet, but they'll get ready at some point. Or, oh, this person's like a little damaged, so like they obviously have a little bit of emotional issues, so I'll forgive them because their intention is good and they like me a lot. Or, well, I'm already in love with this person, so like I guess I should just keep dating them because like we're already locked and loaded, and like I don't want to start over again.
Right. I think that all of those things can fight for either side. Like, yes, being in love with someone means that there's like a little bit of unconditional accepting to a point. I think that yes, like you know, you wouldn't make excuses, but yeah, like you don't want to also make a snap judgment. Like, you don't want to be so harsh that like somebody does something wrong and you're like, nope, done. Because then what you always do in retrospect is you look back and you go, well, I should have known when he did. Well, what if it was only just that one time? And then you made some snap judgment and he only did this one thing that one time and it was like a misunderstanding, and you move on and you have a totally different relationship. So leave yourself time to like move through something to be sure, but don't let the things happen so many times that then you're making excuses like you're talking about.
Don't paint a red flag white.
You got it right.
Yeah, I like stuttered though, but whatever, we got there.
You still got there.
I think we need to define unconditional love since you brought it up.
You define that then.
So people, I think, tend to have the illusion that unconditional love is sort of like an abused woman kind of thing, like, or an abused spouse. Like, well, I love this person and I want to be there for them and I signed up to love them. And if I love this person, I'll, stick it out and like help them get help. Sure. Okay. But unconditional love as a concept, like the universal concept, is that you love the person enough to like, you care for them, but that doesn't mean you have to be with them.
No.
You absolutely can walk away from a relationship that makes you uncomfortable or hurts you or whatever it is. You have to actually unconditionally love yourself first. But you can unconditionally love somebody and still not be with them.
Of course.
You love them as a human, just like you probably love most people you were with at any point.
Sure.
You still love them in theory.
Unconditional love is not an excuse for like taking shitty treatment.
No.
It is not an excuse. It doesn't fall under the umbrella of, well, if it's only hard because it's worth it. Like, that's what people say to themselves when they're in this shitty relationship and they don't know how to get out. Like, and then they tell their ego, like, it's okay that I'm taking this shitty treatment because it's unconditional love. I'm accepting this person for everything they are. And it's only hard because it's worth it. It's like, go fuck yourself. Literally by yourself, because you don't want this other person.
It's much more pleasant experience.
Stop
really
doing that, because all of those things that's an excuse. It's like when people say, I love this one. Well, maybe I'm bitchy, but I'm just being honest. No, you can be honest without being a big fat bitch. It's called being a grown up.
Right. Use your words, people.
Yes. Yeah.
Some other ones, speaking of using words, sent drunken emotional texts.
Oh my God. We all have done that. I mean,
well, at some reason, the alcohol empowered me, and I'm like, well, they're drinking too. So if we're speaking the same language, basically the alcohol language, now's the right time.
And you also think you're more reasonable. I mean, you're drunk. It's not like you don't think, oh, I'm not drunk, but you're like, you feel fine about it. You're like, listen, and it's fine that I'm saying this to you right now because I have a lot to say, and I need to say it now before I go to sleep because I tie. Like... And then you say the things, and then you're like, in the morning, you're like, oh, God.
And then you read it again, and you're like, oh, my God, I wouldn't say that ever.
It is a mistake to get into something deep over text or have a deep conversation when you've been drinking. I say just try to tell yourself, yes, the rationale goes out the window a little after the drinks, but just try to tell yourself, like, just say, let's talk in the morning, either via text or in person, because just try to remind yourself, like, I know I feel like I can have this conversation, but history speaks for itself.
Which brings us to another point, impatience. Having no patience is a real problem because you could send those texts in the morning, go to sleep, sleep on it, wake up, send it. You don't have to send it right then and there. No one cares what you have to say at the 11th hour when you're drunk and they're drunk or out with their friends. Just wait. Like, take a sec, be still, breathe, then send it when you have clear minds and somebody else can actually
check in with yourself, and also be patient with yourself in the dating process. Because yes, there are times where you're allowed to feel frustrated and like your patience is being tested. It's okay. Don't ignore it. Just allow it to be part of the roller coaster that is dating, because sometimes you're going to be like, I don't really fucking care. Or you're going to be dating somebody and you're going to be like, I'm fine with whatever pace we're moving at, or I'm not. You're too fast. You're too slow. Everyone moves at their own pace. Try not to take it personally, up to a point where then you realize this is a problem for me or not a problem for me. And you,
like, if you're never getting what you want out of the relationship,
you know when that
then
is.
you're sacrificing
It's different for
yourself.
everybody, and don't let women or friends or guys tell you what that looks like. Like so there is a very big mistake that this is reminding me of right now, about having sex and like, oh gosh, we have this list here, and I'm like,
such a good list.
Oh, here, thinking that being challenged or challenging someone that you're interested in has anything to do with sex. This is a mistake that fucking bugs me so bad. Everyone has their own narrative about like sex and dating, like fucking Patty Stanger, the Millionaire Matchmaker, which where did she go? Is like, you're not allowed to be sexual with anybody until at least 3 dates in. And like, okay, I get for her maybe business fucking model, that's what she wants to tell people, but this is real life. Like, sex works, in my opinion, for whatever you are comfortable with. If you want to wait a year, if you don't ever want to do it, if you're fine with doing it on the first date, if it's different every single time you're out with a dude, that is what it looks like for you. You do not have control over the outcome of a relationship based on when you choose to have sex with somebody or text somebody back. Smaller scale. And I think that's the hugest mistake that people make, thinking that they are controlling the situation with withholding sex or having sex with somebody. I just don't think that do what makes you feel comfortable personally, sexually. Don't do any sexual decisions based on the other person.
Right. Like,
is how it
don't
works.
do it because you feel like if you don't, then he'll go find someone else, because he'll still go find someone else.
1,000,000%.
Like, it has no bearing on that.
Yeah.
But also, when we discuss, like, being challenging, like, being the girl that's like, I don't sleep with men until date 75.
I'm going to make you work for it.
Right. Like, that's the wrong, I think, understanding of being a challenge.
Yes.
Being a challenge is being an interesting human being with, like, many qualities, being self-respecting. The challenge is actually for the man and what it takes for him to win you over in any capacity. Like, for you to acknowledge his existence, like, that you want him in his life, you're going to give him time and space. Like, how quickly you're even sold on him as your man. Like, do you want this person in your life? I have to be honest about the whole sex thing. Like, to me, I don't want someone to, like, touch me for many dates. Like, you're a stranger to me, especially if I meet you.
It's a turnoff to you.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, just because we have chemistry and a connection at this point, I'm like, I don't know you well enough to have you in my personal space or in my home or part of my routine, or I don't know. Like, to me at this point, I'm 34 years old. For me, it's very personal. Like, my body is my temple. You cannot get, like, even my energy, you cannot get in here.
Yeah.
I got to keep you out until I'm ready to bring you in.
And that is a great way to approach it. And that is what works for you. But if you are not that person and it's not something that's not a thing for you, or you like, listen, I am a very open person. I am very attracted at this moment to this person. I don't want to stop something that's organic. I feel so comfortable. I want to explore this next step with this person right now. I feel ready. Like, whenever at first date or 87th date, that's what I think it looked when I was dating, it looked different for me every single date.
Right. Like, it's just what you want to do.
It was like,
and then the thing is, if that's what you want to do, you then can't then go have all these feelings about the other person. You were the participant in this action. So you have to take responsibility for the fact you wanted to do it. Whether that person ever contacts you again or how they feel is on them, not about you.
And please don't make the mistake of listening to all the blabber around you that tells you that the reason why it didn't work out is because of the decision to have or to not have sex.
Right.
Please, that is such a horrible shaming thing to even put in the dating world. It is. Everyone stay out of, unless I want you to tell me about sex or what to do or whatever, shut your mouth about what I choose to do or not to do. Don't put that on me. I think that's rude when girlfriends do that. or boyfriends or whoever. Like, well, you shouldn't have blah, blah, blah.
Right. It's one thing if you position it like, what do you think went wrong here? And then you open it up for a dialogue.
Sure. And still, that's still somebody's opinion, because guess what? I had sex on the first date with James, and hello, also had sex with other guys on the first date and nothing happened. Also waited to have sex with guys and it turned into a fucking disaster.
Yeah.
So it's like, clearly there's no connection. I mean, a slight connection, but it's not the only reason, is what I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I think, though, also, if you were to have sex with somebody early on, don't do that. I never do this, or
don't play
give
the
it
victim
right.
game.
Don't give
Yeah.
it a disclaimer or editorialize the whole thing.
Guys don't even want to hear that. And remember what Sex with Emily said, to interject for a second. Don't talk about sex while having sex.
Right.
It's either before or after, not during. And I totally agree. And guys are like, oh God, are we having a fucking conversation right now? Probably. I mean, can't we just do the sex and not also be talking?
That's how I would feel, honestly. Time and a place, like less words.
Stay in your own lane. This is sex, not talk.
Right.
Unless you're sexy talking.
Right.
Like about doing dirty things or something.
Exactly.
Which is hard for me.
I know it's hard for me too.
It's so weird. I can't. I did say something to James on our very first date, when we were having sex on our first date. Oh my God, can you believe I did that? So drunk. And anyway, but I said something like sexy talk, and I the next day it was like sending a drunk text. Like, I sent the drunk text in the talk of the sex, and I called our girlfriend Shira and was like, I can't believe I said this thing. I was like so embarrassed, and I don't think anybody else, being him, because he was the only other person there, thought twice about it. But I was like, oh my God, I got all in my head about it. But yeah, sexy talk has to be talking about sex-y things while sexing. Not
right,
yes,
right,
do things that you want, like do this or do that, but don't talk about I never do this while having sex.
Yeah, don't.
That's a mistake too.
Don't bring up things you dislike. If you want something to happen, suggest it. Maybe be like, I love it when you do this thing,
or don't stop doing that, or do more of this, or help try this, or
all those things.
You know, I'm really good at giving advice about how to do sexy talk, even though I don't do it. So
it's all right. One day when I have sex again, I'll tell you if I do it.
Oh my God. It'll happen. Don't worry.
I think it will in this
Listen,
decade at least.
It could happen if you want it to happen. If you just want the act of sex to happen, you're a beautiful girl in LA. You could do it. But you're obviously taking your own path to that.
I am. It's a slow one.
It's fine.
So it is what it is.
You know what? And sometimes then all of a sudden there'll be 10 people in a row. Bam, bam, bam. You know how sometimes you slut it out. I'm kidding. You don't.
I've already experienced that life, and I have moved on from it. And I've turned in my slut card.
Well, so you might punch that slut card soon again.
I hope with a guy I want to keep.
Blow the dust off of it and then punch it a couple of times.
Sounds dirty.
See? Sexy talk. I did it. Oh, I'm going to do that tonight. No, I'm not. Oh my God, I'm nervous already.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah. So you mentioned actually something about LA.
Yeah.
So a lot of people make the mistake of blaming other things externally. Yeah. And that's one of those things that we're going to just say probably don't do. Maybe it's you and your interpretation and maybe the energy you're putting out. So also thinking modern dating is to blame for the fact that you're single. Now, I have mixed emotions about this one.
Okay, why?
One is I don't think you should blame anything 100%. I think you can say this is an issue that is occurring and maybe causing a little bit of distress. So I personally think modern dating has a lot of issues. I think my approach to it is probably also part of it. I need to really take advantage of swiping and stuff if that's the case.
Sure.
And make it my own, because if there's so many options out there, that's actually a positive. But at the same time, it does make people very hesitant to lock it down because they have so many options.
Yes.
It's nobody that I've seen really puts forth that much effort because they can just move on to the next one because they're like, well, there's always more fish in the sea.
Totally.
I also think people now don't know how to act because they are like, what are the rules? I don't even know anymore.
Yeah, there's a lot of reason why the rules are up in the air. And then also technology is confusing that too, because it's who now when I'm texting, who makes the first move, or what? It's just it's all becoming very blurry.
It's so muddled. And I think in terms of, you know, going up to somebody in a bar, the one thing you know is that person that night is not with somebody else. Yes, they might be dating other people, but you don't physically see them and know they're there.
Oh, true.
But with dating apps, you know everyone's swiping. They don't just stop on you. Like, you're not the only person they've ever swiped on. So you are not unique in any way at that point until you win somebody over.
I mean, you also know at the bar, you're not the only person they've ever approached at a bar. You just know in that moment they haven't approached 20. Like, you can swipe, say hello, and approach via a dating app 30 people in like 5 minutes. And you know at a bar that person hasn't approached 30 people in 5 minutes. Like, if they're approaching you, you're probably the only one that night.
Right. So I think for the sake of confidence, it really has thrown people for a loop, because men and women, I think men are having a harder time with it, though, because this was not the case before. Before, man, you know, picks up girl, they are the ones who initiate these things. They're the ones usually with more options, because they're the ones that get to actually reach out to the women, versus now women can do the same exact things as men. We have the same access to all the people, and the rules, as far as even especially on Bumble, women contact men. So now men are like, wait, is she going to contact me or not? Like,
and will she be offended, or what should I do? And then they're also nervous on their own for all their own things, which totally makes sense. I'm actually guilty of falling into the mistake of, for a second, believing the hype that, oh, it's LA. It's that you're dating in LA and that's why you're single, because you're this, this, and this, and you should be this. So you're not dating someone because of the city you're in. And I thought that for a second, like, well, that's what I keep hearing. And then it was a very small second. And then I realized, like, this is a bunch of bullshit. It's like, the common denominator is you. And don't fall into the trap of like shaming or blaming yourself too hard. Just take a really close look at, like, there's a million factors that go into it. The city could, yes, be a little more difficult than if you were in fucking Kansas. I don't even know how it is to date there, but I'm just saying. Or whatever. But, you know, pay attention to everything that is part of the piece of the pie of dating. You're only 1/16 of the pie. Or 80th, or whatever, however many pieces you want to cut it into. So just keep in mind, yes, where you are geographically might be difficult, but it's not. You only really can control yourself and your growth and how you can self-reflect on what you want and need or are going to do different in the future. And you cannot just sit and play the blame game, because nobody fucking cares.
No, nobody does, guys.
Yeah. That's what I have to say about that. But falling into that mistake, it's like, again, I think a lot of theme here is, to wrap it up, in my opinion, there's a lot of hype. There's a lot of people who like to have podcasts and tell you what they think they know about dating and relationships. And then you listen and get all stressed out about what you have to do. But we don't really do that here. We're not like force feeding you. We're telling you, like, we've tried this and that. We even have whole episodes about our mistakes. I think listening to the hype only is like a bad thing to do. Don't let people tell you when to have sex or how to meet somebody or why are you not single or whatever. I mean, you could pay attention to those things, but like, don't let it completely direct you or make you feel a certain way about yourself, if you can.
Right.
Try to take it all with a grain of salt.
You know, I think spending some time with yourself, and this is why they say, you know, between relationships, you should really give yourself like a breather. Like, remember what makes you feel good and what makes you feel uncomfortable. So you start noticing patterns, because you may fall into them again. You may not realize you're making the mistake. And then obviously, if you're asking your peanut gallery who aren't educated in the area, they're going to give you bad advice.
I always think you're about to say penis when you say that.
Well, that'll never happen.
The penis gallery.
Yeah, them. So I think we all generally know the right thing for us.
Yes.
We ignore it, whether it's alcohol, other people's opinions,
excuses.
Right. Not actually taking stock in ourselves is probably the number one problem. So spend some time with yourself, see what makes you feel good, bad, ugly, maybe go through some of the mistakes you've made. Don't beat yourself up, because hopefully now you're aware enough and you learn.
And you will learn, and then you'll make the mistake again later, and it'll look different. And then you'll be like, oh, that's what that is. Whoopsie, behavioral pattern, try again. And that's fine too.
Exactly. So the moral of this story is, don't keep making the same mistakes.
And drink your cocktail.
Exactly.
And
tune in.
And ask the penis gallery what they think.
And if not, if you have no friends to ask, which you shouldn't ask them anyway, because what do they know? Tune into our show, because we're your friends.
And if you don't have friends, then take a good look at yourself.
Yeah. Every time you say that, I hear that song, Take a Look at Me Now.
That could be our karaoke song. Let's.
Oh, that's a really good
You know
one.
what? I'm getting married soon, so maybe we have that at the. It's like the Wilson Phillips one from. Yeah.
Well, I do keep sending you gifts from bridesmaids. So.
That's true. Speaking of bridesmaids, guys, we are about to go, but I am trying on some wedding dresses this weekend, so we might have a bridesmaids moment, and hopefully it's not the bad moment where we eat a bad lunch and have a bad thing.
No, but that was a joke on the chain.
Are you gonna wear you gonna get the Bernet Frisé or whatever? If I want you to wear a certain type of dress,
Yeah,
you don't have to worry about that. It's fine. Did you just say you're done?
No, I said you're not.
Oh, I was like, okay, well, I guess that's it for me tonight, folks. I'm going home. Boop.
Bye.
Goodbye. Okay, you guys, speaking of, we are going home. Please tune in next week for our show and our guest, Danielle DeGregory. And don't forget to follow us on all the social medias at Complicated Show. And where can everyone find you? Not Lauren.
You can find me at Not Lauren on all the social media platforms. Jennifer Golden. Just kidding. Jennifer with one N. Golden. You? Where are you? How do we find you? At the bridal store?
At Lauren Leonelli on all the social medias, and also not Jen.
Why can they find you so easily?
Why? What do you mean?
People don't know how to spell my name, but your name is so easy.
It is, but it isn't, and it might be different. I don't know. We're going to talk about that too.
Oh my gosh, are we changing our
I don't
name?
know. We can't. We're ending. Okay,
Stressed.
we will see you next week.
Love you long time.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.